Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Working Dragon Mystics Magical Coffee Hour. I am Drake. Hope everyone is having a wonderful evening. Um, I'm actually happy to be here. It has been a fantastic weekend for me, and I hope you guys have had a good weekend as well. Um, a few things before we get started. Let's keep this family friendly, people. Um, let's try to we're still live on YouTube and Rumble, but YouTube has us, they got some restrictions, so we got to keep it family friendly. That said, if you have questions that you don't think that you want answered that you can't get answered on here, aren't family friendly, you can join us at our online community. Immortal has already dropped links there. We have a Working Dragon Mystic community as a live chat. We do lives over there. We do workshops. We've moved the online school over there. We now have an all-in-one everything there community. And our supporters are over there too. So if you want to become a paid supporter, you can join us over there, and you get access to the workshops for free. You get access to a bunch of the classes that are part of the online school or part of the supporter perks. So join us over there. Allows us to have a lot of discussions that we can't have anywhere else. And that's what this is, a community that we are building and growing. And with that said, I got some really cool news. Like, if we can grow the supporter community to 30, I'm allowed to go into my private grimoire. I got the dragon's permission for this, to go into my private grimoire and release to the supporter community. And I think I'm going to double check, but I think it'll be just the community. It won't be on YouTube or Rumble. It'll only be over at the community. One of the specialty dragons that has never been released. It's only in my grimoire. It's not even in 102 or 103. This is a specialty dragon that has been kept in my grimoire. And the cool part about that is they also said that every 10 past that, pushing to 50, I can release another one. So that's 3 dragons if we can do that. So if you're watching this, if you're not a member of the community, join us and tell all your friends, hit your social media, let them know what we're doing, let them know about the community, because if we can, and tell them if they're up to it, if they can afford it, to support us. Because if we hit 30, we release that dragon. If we hit 40, we release another dragon. If we hit 50, we release another dragon. I don't have permission past that, but we'll see what we can do past that. All right. I'm excited because these are dragons I've enjoyed working with so much, and I didn't get permission to put them in the courses or anywhere. So I'm hyped that the dragons have said, hey, try this. I'm like, okay, I'll try it. So there we go. Let's see what we got. Also, do remember, if we get busy in here and you have a question, we do have super chats. You can use that over on YouTube. It'll flash it up on the screen. Make sure I don't miss it. Any super chat of $5 or more gets you entered for spell workings I do on Monday for all the super chats. And my supporters, that is for wealth, prosperity, health, and well-being. That's with or without a question, but you can, if you're not worried about the spell working, any super chat will flash it on the screen, just so y'all know that. Let's see, there we go. So let's get into this tonight. If you guys got any questions, be sure to drop them in here. Let us know. The biggest part of Magical Coffee Hour is this a chance for us to go live with the community and try to answer questions. So by all means, ask us your occult questions in there if you got them. We always love to get them. We do have a Dragon Magic video coming out Tuesday, so keep your eyes out for that. It's actually a unique one. I hope you guys enjoy it. Thomas, good to see you. Immortal, good evening. Claw, welcome. Unity, yeah, long time, mate. I hope you're doing well. Kenny, good to see you. Gabriel, welcome. Let's see, Claw, Drake, could you talk about your experiences with the Jinn? Yeah, give me a second. I think I can do that. Shiva, let's see here. First off, Gabriel, how does dragon communicate with you, and how does a dragon communicate with you, and can you tell it's communicating with you? First and foremost, I would say make sure your arcane senses are developed. That's one of the big ones. Dragons will try to communicate with you in any way that they can. That doesn't mean you're going to necessarily notice it. There's been a lot of dragons who have tried to communicate with people, and people have tried to explain it off as random noises, creaky houses, or whatnot, and they just ignored it point blank. Some people, they're more inclined to believe and they're willing to listen. There's until you really develop your arcane senses, you can't be sure. That's kind of the downside of it. Just, you know, if I'm understanding your question right. As for me specifically, like my arcane senses were pretty developed before I ever got into dragon magic. So when I set out to reach out and to talk to them and everything, I was able to see and hear them pretty well. Granted, the dragons helped me develop them further, so there is that. Claude, could you talk about your experiences with the djinn? Okay, so I have mentioned to many of you all that I have worked with the djinn in the past, some for private research, some for clients and whatnot. And I've always heard horror stories about working with the djinn and everything. But in truth, I never had any issues with them. They honestly reminded me of stern business people. Like, they had a job to do. They will do it to the letter. And you're expected to uphold your end to the letter. And as long as you hold up your end, they'll hold up their end. If you don't hold up your end, then yeah, there's going to be consequences. Just like, you know, if I take out a loan with the bank and I don't pay it, there's going to be freaking consequences. There should be. I'm a person who believes if you give your word for anything, you should keep it. Okay. It may sound old fashioned, but I don't care. If you tell me you're going to do something, I don't care how big or how trivial. If you don't keep your word, if you're just like, oh, I forgot, I'm not going to trust you again. And there's a lot of people that they're completely baffled at the concept that they tell me they're going to do something. They promise they're going to do something. They make a commitment, and then they just completely sideshow it so they can go see a movie, so that they can just go to a bar or something. And then I never trust them again. That they just don't understand that. And it's like, you gave me your word and you fucking lied to me. I don't see how this is hard to understand. So why should I trust you going forward? I see no reason. So honestly, that's how I approach everything in life. So when I was working with the djinn, it wasn't that difficult. When I tell an entity I'm going to do something, I do it. Even if they give me a time period of like 3 months, I'm going to try and have that done ASAP, just because I don't want to forget. So I never had any issues with them. I actually enjoyed working with them what times I did. The systems and everything weren't exactly some of my preferred. So like I said, I enjoy anytime I get a chance to for a client or whatnot. But I got some decent results. Decent, you know, a lot of people say the best results they ever got from djinn. I really can't say that. I got some pretty good ones. Before Dragon Magic, I would say they probably were the best. But for me, I can't today say they were the best. You know what I mean? So I never really had an issue with them. I never saw them as these scary, malevolent things either. Even though that's the stories I heard, and to be honest, that's kind of what I was expecting. That is not how they showed up. That's not how they behaved. And if anything, I'd say they've earned my respect. And if need be, I'd have no issues doing business with them again in the future. But that's me. See, where are we? Got that one. Connection between Unity, any connection between dragons and Lord Shiva? Not that I'm aware of. I know that they have no issues working with Lord Shiva, but to me, Lord Shiva is a complete, from what I'm understanding, working with dragons and having worked with Shiva a few times in the past for clients. Not the same species, not the same realm, not the same multiversal grouping, if you will. So it'd be like Shiva and the pantheon's over here, dragons would be over here. So but they would work together. So if that makes any sense. Where was I? I love it though. You guys got the questions coming in already. Love it, love it, love it. Then how do I do very clear audience so I can hear such spirits? Okay, so if you head over to the community, you will be able to find an arcane sight course. The arcane sight course has a lot of exercises to develop arcane sight. All those exercises can easily be used to develop your other arcane senses. There's a few exercises I can give you to add on to that. For example, mind worms. Everyone's had a mind worm song in their head. Start playing music in your head. Start developing that ability to hear sounds in your head without your ears. When we are talking arcane senses, arcane hearing, clairaudience, those things are not going to use your eardrums. They're not going to go. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. The eardrums are not there. It is in your mind. And that's where you're going to have to do it. So what I would start you doing is start by reproducing simple sounds in your head, depending on where you're at in your ability to do this. Some people start with a bell. Some people start with a chime. Some people start with a ringing phone. Work yourself up to conversations. Work yourself up to songs. Honestly, I loved doing it with music because I love music. So I started essentially building an internal playlist to develop my clairaudience and my ability to hear. Then sit down and have a conversation with a guardian dragon. We have a literal guided meditation for your guardian dragon. Use those meditations in the same way to reach out and connect and have a conversation. Go to the water. Speak with the elements. Sit down and meditate and listen to the voices on the wind. It's not just a silly, goofy Disney song, people. There is a voice to the wind, and you can listen to it. And it's about learning to hear it more than anything. But here's the kicker. If you've learned to hear in your head that song that you're recreating, you know how you're going to hear when an entity talks to you, right? The only difference is the song, you created that in your head. You put that in your head. You press the play button, right? Okay. Well, if you're walking through your kitchen doing dishes and somebody says, "Hey, Drake, what's this?" And you look over and, oh, crap, there's that cup I forgot. I didn't create the, "Hey, Drake, what's this?" Something else in the house said that to me. It's about learning to listen more than anything. But I hope that helps. Go check out that course. It's absolutely a free course over there. I need some coffee. Mugs up, everyone. Hey, Matthias, glad you could join us. Let's see. Any experience with shapeshifters? I'm working with, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. Mayan Jaguar God. I mispronounce it every time. I would beg to say that it would be a fair argument that all the deities are far older than humanity thinks they are. Just simply because, well, humanity's arrogance has shown us that we try to pin everything based on our existence, and very few gods that I have met existed after us or around us. They all seem to predate us. So I would actually agree with that thought process pretty easily. Yes, I've worked with shapeshifters a lot. Odin, Freya, Loki. I work with them all the time. Dragons themselves are shapeshifters. So yes, I deal with a lot of shapeshifters. And I was pretty much smacked around and beat up by shapeshifters through the Clifothic workings I did. So yeah, I've worked with them. I've also done plenty of paranormal investigations or cryptid investigations. I know some people don't view cryptids as paranormal, but I don't care. It's one of those things, and on different shapeshifters in the world. But yeah, I mean, shapeshifters, they're all around us. They're in a lot of different places. And well, for frick's sakes, now I think about it, I work with the Fae people. Oh, honestly, if it comes to most annoying shapeshifters, sorry, Loki, I might have to give it to the Fae. I really might. I may regret stating that, but yeah, I may have to give it to the Fae. I can't go to the Fae Wilds and visit without some shapeshifter giving me shit of some kind. Yeah, they mean it in fun, and I get that, but still, it can be a pain. Mortal, thank you for sharing the link to the community. Yes, and those links should also be below videos. Um, Kenny, what is your take on natural arcane sense? What you mean, like naturally being able to use your arcane senses? I think it's 100% accurate. I think every human being on the planet is born with the arcane senses naturally. It's not about that you're born and you have to develop them. That's actually not the problem. It's that in society today, we're born and we're actually taught to shut them down. There's not a human being alive that's not born with arcane senses. They're not a gift. They're nothing that makes you special. Any of that, I don't buy into that. I think that's absolute hogwash. That's just people who wants to give themselves a gold star, put themselves on a pedestal, and say, "Hey, look at me, I'm special." No, you're actually not. Anyone can actually develop your arcane senses. In fact, we're all born with it. You can actually watch this in an infant's eyes. The infants are very much more aware of in the surroundings than we are. Just the same way that, like cats and dogs, you can see that they're very much paying attention to things that we're not seeing. It's the exact same thing. So, yes, every human being on the planet is born naturally having them. Now, as they shut down, do some people have a natural inclination to pick them up easier? Yes. And do they shut down for everyone? No, because some people deal with the societal things differently, right? Some people, they start seeing things and they just don't talk about it. You're right, they have it, they don't shut it down. They just see it, they hear it, they don't talk about it. Some of them, it spooks them. Some of them enjoy it. My wife falls into the second category. Like she will talk to me about, her playing with her friends and all these things when she was little and she had this, little fae friends to talk to. And most people think imaginary friends. However, her and I have realized that it's just she wasn't playing make believe. She was literally talking with land spirits and fae and stuff like that, where she grew up. And actually, we've seen a few of these when we went back to her home where she grew up and stuff. You can still see many of them there. I don't know if any of them's visited her. I know that she works with Loki, so it's very possible many of them have visited her. I don't really ask her about that, but that would be my long 2 cents on it. Hope that helps, Kenny. Let's see, United. I have a fear of working with the Goetia. Don't try to convince me. I won't try to convince you. You don't want to work with them. Don't work with them. That's easy to me. I don't care. I'm being funny. Any thoughts on this? Okay, on what? Fear is a natural thing in life. Okay, it is. It's absolutely natural. You were all afraid of something. Um, Only a fool it doesn't have fear. Okay, a brave man isn't without fear. A brave man acts and does what is necessary, or still goes into life facing fears. Right. So there is a natural instinct. It's a survival instinct, actually, to be mindful and wary of your surroundings and areas you don't know. So going into the Goetia, if that's not something you've ever done, that's an area you don't know. I'll be honest, there's a bit of tension and you could call it fear. I don't think it really hits fear for me as so much as that the excitement of the unknown, the anxiety of, oh my God, almost like you're at the top of that roller coaster. You ain't dropped, but you know it's there. And you're like, anytime I'm getting ready to start a new path working or something, it's kind of like that for me. But there are times, definitely, the Goetia, or not the Goetia, the Cliffoth was one of them, where that one I was genuinely, there was actual, oh, I'm going to screw this up. Like it was seriously. But it was also one of those where I knew, at least for me, and this is for me, I can only speak for me, I can't speak for you. But I knew the only way for me to get past it was just to kick the door open and go in and deal with it, right? I'm someone who has arachnophobia, and I have spent years putting myself in situations where spiders are because I'm absolutely fucking terrified of them. And though I can't get rid of a phobia, I can't do that. I can get comfortable with being there. I can get comfortable with that situation. And that's where I'm at. Just like cameras. I'm terrified of cameras, and look what I do. Part of my real push to do the live streams early on and was to actually get more comfortable on camera, give me more reason to be on camera, and get comfortable to where I'm able to talk more freely. Even now, though, you'll watch, I'll still get rattled and pause occasionally and lose track of thought because I'm on camera. So that's my thoughts. But you got to do what's right for you. There's no one path. So you got to do what's right for you, mate. I will say, when taking on your fears, try to do so in as controlled and safe manner as possible. Manage your risk, okay? Manage your risk. And that's going to be different for everyone too. I will openly admit I've done stuff that was extremely stupid that I shouldn't have done. And now in my later years, I'm paying for it. I got back problems, knee problems, all kinds of stuff that I'm trying to work and fix. Some doctors tell me I can't fix them. I'm going to go with the bullshit. Watch me do it. And those who are following the 6-month challenge, you kind of have an idea what I'm talking about. Matthias, don't forget to leave a like. Yes, if you are here and you enjoy the occult and metaphysic topics and questions and stuff, give us a thumbs up. Definitely helps with the pesky algorithm. Also, if you enjoy the channel, make sure you do check out our Tuesday videos. I have confirmed that YouTube has started prioritizing pre-recorded videos over live streams, even though our community prefers live streams. So the more engagement we can get on those pre-recorded videos, thumbs up, comments, stuff like that, it'll help the channel. Let's see. See, to be honest, I think most of the stories about gods and goddesses, supernatural beings, folklore beings, dragons, etc., are warped by most of humanity. They very well be. They may very well be. But they're a fair root source of a starting point, right? And that's really what I use them as. I use them as a starting point, and then I will do a path working. I begin to work with the entities. And ironically, my old pastor's the one who taught me this. He's like, it's not the going to church. It's not the sitting in the pews. It's not the prayers. It's not the song that matters. It's that one-on-one relationship you have. He's like, that's what matters more than anything. He's like, and he went as far. He's like, I think that in my mind is what matters more than anything in any religion or belief. He was a really, really wise individual. And like that piece of advice helped me the most in my spiritual life at that time, hands down. And even when I probably wouldn't have left the church if I could have managed to keep that man as my pastor my whole life. I'll be honest with you. Sadly, he retired, but good man. But even when I did lose, well, I guess you'd say my taste for religion, because let's be honest, it's not one religion over the other. I really want no part of any religion these days. I understand them. I respect them. I think they're great for some people. I think they're horrible for other people. But that is one of the things that's carried me through. And in my practice, I don't worship. I've said that 1,000 times in my life. I don't worship. I have an actual relationship with the entities. I build a friendship. If they demand worship, I go the other way. And I think that's why I like the dragons so much, partially, because they absolutely do not want worship. If they only want genuine friendship with you, they detest worship, because that dilutes and deteriorates the actual friendship and relationship in their eyes. So, that's kind of one of those things. They're the only group where I've really seen that in that strongly. There's plenty of entities out there that don't require worship. But like the Norse, they don't mind worship. They don't mind it at all. But they also don't require it. I think you could be there. But I would also say we all have to keep an open mind, and enough to not blind ourselves to things by our hard set views on things. Let's see. Unity Gaming Family. Wow, glad I asked. Great answer. I think the shapeshifters are kind of a hush-hush thing in a lot of communities. They weirdly are. Okay. Like I know that skinwalkers and stuff, like people are like, I ain't gonna talk about that. I come from Appalachia, right? We got a lot of shit we don't want to talk about, right? Like you'll be out there, it's like, hey, I heard this. No, you didn't. Shut up. Hey, I heard. No, you didn't. Hey, what? No, you didn't. Nope. That's a preemptive. You didn't hear it. Just no. And there's a lot of weird things creeping around those mountains. Um, and it's like it's been hard. Like I've been trying to get my mom to talk more and more about them with me. What I do kind of freaks her out. Like she is so happy her son's successful, but at the same time, it freaks her out. So she is highly interested in what I do. But like we exchanged two sentences, and she's like, "Okay, stop. I'm gonna have nightmares." So drawing out, like she grew up in the Appalachia. She honestly an Air Force brat, so she traveled around the globe. She lived in Germany, all kinds of places, but mostly she grew up in the Appalachia, and her whole family's there. So she's heard all the stories from her mama and everything. Of course, I've heard them from Mama Maine and Mama and Papa, and I grew up there. But getting her to talk about them and her experiences has been like pulling teeth. I've been getting it out a little. And there's definitely a lot of shapeshifters and other weird things and mimicry that goes on up in the mountains. And some of it comes from the Native American traditions of just don't talk about it. You seriously don't. And regardless of your political stance on America and Native Americans, because I'll be honest with you, I don't care what your political stance is. The truth of the matter is there is a lot of people who made friends on all sides of those fences, and a lot of those traditions and those concepts intermingled and were shared both ways, right? Positively. And so there's a fair chance that a good chunk of the beliefs to stay hush hush came from some of their beliefs, which makes sense. But at the same time, I honestly am of a mind that some of these things should be talked about. Should be. And this is something many of you know, I've spoken with many Native American shamans and have had a chance to work with them in many blessed ways, absolute blessed. I don't teach Native American stuff. It's one of those practices I do think you need to be initiated in it. I'm not the person to go to. But they allowed me on the inside to have conversations that, to my understanding, they don't have with most people. And I'll always be grateful for that. And one of those shamans talked to me and he's like, it is the tradition that we don't talk about these things because talking about these things can draw its attention. Okay, we know for a fact when you mention a deity's name or something, that deity is aware of you. Doesn't mean you draw its attention, doesn't mean the deity is going to come by and say hello, ask for a cup of coffee. So we know our words and speaking things aloud do have some power. There's even records of someone, it's like you haven't thought about them in 25 years. Well, suddenly you think about them and then you find out they were just having a conversation about you at random just the other day at the same time the thought popped into your head. So we can do the same shit. So it makes sense. However, he went on to add to this. Fear is easily cultivated in the unknown and a lack of understanding. And he questioned that perhaps there is a time when conversations should be had to gain understanding to conquer fear. And I understood what he was talking about. Now, for him, specifically inside his tradition, he's going to have to navigate his tradition, right? Navigate it. Okay. I'm not inside his tradition, for example. If I encounter a shapeshifter, whether it's in the Appalachia or on a nudist beach in California, doesn't matter. I have no traditional qualms that says, Drake, you're not allowed to talk about this. I have a lot of suggestions from old timers out in the Appalachia saying I shouldn't talk about it, but nothing requiring it. And I've kind of meditated on that shaman's words for many, many years. And because of that, unless it's something that is initiatory topic, and because I do respect initiatory areas, there's a difference in initiatory practice and gatekeeping. Okay, there's a big difference in those two things. Screw gatekeeping. I hate gatekeeping. I will respect initiatory practices. So unless it's that, I got no issues talking about it. None whatsoever. So if I see a shapeshifter in the Appalachia or I come across one while doing an investigation, your guys going to hear about it. If I work with a shapeshifter like Loki or any other one, I don't mind talking about it. I know a few people who actually work with different shape-shifting forms of magic that I've tinkered with them. They've shared the books that they're learning from, and I didn't find good results with them, but they enjoyed them. Their manifestation result percentage isn't as high as mine, but it meets their criteria, and they're having fun with it. So, hey, whatever floats their boat, right? Hope that helps a little. Jade, good to see you. Oh, Lord, I'm falling behind. I am rambling on. Thomas, do you think ego affects a lot of practitioners and their relationships with various entities? Yep, I do. I really do. If y'all remembered a while back, I actually did a topic, let yourself be wrong, let your gnosis be wrong. Because ego is the biggest thing that gets in the way of letting you be wrong. Hands down. It sucks, I know, but sometimes you have to say, you know what? I screwed up. You know what? I was wrong. You have to go back to the drawing board. That's why I encourage the journals. That's why I encourage reviewing the journals. That's why I encourage looking back at things. Like I go back and look at things and see if they still hold up regularly because I just want to know. I want to actually test myself. And I've also noticed as I go through and work in different systems, like I'm going to come into this and it's going to go, and it's suddenly, like I've got this bit of gnosis here. It's worked all my life, right? It's been working. Suddenly it's like trying to put a triangle through a circle hole. It really is. It just doesn't fit. Could I force it? Could I break it? Could I do something? Yes. But I think that is stupid, right? And your ego is what's going to make it force it. It's just like, I'm not, don't do that. Don't let the ego get there. Instead, step back. Look at these two things. Ask yourself, what is it that is conflicting in these two? Because more often than not, what I find is this thing that is suddenly making this thing appear to not work. These two things are actually two sides of a larger picture. And if I pull back and let go of my ego and say that this thing here isn't 100% absolute right all the time, I am actually a flawed human, I can learn more about this. I see the bigger truth about this, which also lets me see the bigger truth about this and overall makes me a better magician because I'm learning something. And you have to be able to be wrong to learn from those things. And your ego will stop you every step of the way. So, yes, I think ego is definitely a big problem there. And it works with entities too. I know a lot of practitioners, for example, who they are so dead set on exactly who or what Loki is, and their ego will not allow them to see past it. Whether it's the people who villainize Loki without question, or whether it's the people who see Loki as Marvel Loki and they have no flipping clue what the real Loki's like, and they can't let go of Tom Hiddleston in any way in their fantasies, and their ego's just going to keep them worshiping a movie figure. And there's all spectrums on both, all the way between the two also. So yes, ego is an issue. See what we got here. Matthias definitely understand fear of cameras. I'm going to have to work through that myself. It is a tricky one. It is like and it's weird. Like I've noticed it's actually easier for me to get here and talk to you all live than sit down and record. Like I've noticed my heart rate and stuff when recording actually gets higher. It really does. Like I can actually feel my heart rate and everything go up when I'm recording the Tuesday videos as opposed to just doing the live videos. And I'm trying to figure that out. I really am. It's like, I don't know. It's no different. This is recorded. This is going to be played back, but I don't know. In my brain still, there's apparently a difference. Go fig. Skill, Drake, when will you be making an Arcade Senses 102? That's actually a good question. That's actually the thing. I've not really thought about it. I will actually put some thought into that, though I will say this. The next workshop we're going to be doing over at the community for the, again, go over and sign up for the community. whether it's a free member or a paid supporter, go sign up because the workshops will be announced to everybody. Supporters, you get into the workshops for free. The free community, you might have to purchase a seat to some of the workshops. But the next workshop we're wanting to do, I've had a lot of people wanting practical, real world application and training for astral travel. Many of you in the community have heard me talk about how I work with my one-on-one students. And I was wondering if I could do a workshop to share some of those experiences. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So this will be the first time this workshop is going to be offered in this way, where we're going to actually show you, we're going to talk about the lessons I give, the exercises I give, and actually how to test your actual ability to get out and how to confirm it with real world confirmation. So you don't have to worry, is this all in my head? Did I just make it up? Well, we're going to remove that from the equation with this workshop. That does make this a harder workshop. It's still, like, if you've never done astral travel, it's still, a beginner could start these exercises. Just means you would progress a little slower. But it's definitely one that I'm excited about, and I know a lot of people are. So I don't know. We may have to think about that, because I have thought about either adding to the Arcane Senses workshop, adding more exercises that are specific for the other senses, so that you don't have to just go in and tinker with the ones that exist. So I may do that over doing the 102, but it is something that's on my thought process, if that's what you mean. Luckily, once I get everything moved over, I might be able to tinker with some of that stuff, because we are moving all the online school over there. When you say arcane senses, can you give examples of lesser known abilities that you feel are worth developing? When I say arcane senses, I'm talking about the ability to hear, see, touch, feel, taste. Quite literally, your physical senses, only on an energetic level. Some people refer to them as the clairs, like clairaudience, clairvisual, but any of, like, for me, like, if you're talking about the important ones, for me, honestly, you can get through your magical career just by developing your arcane sight and arcane hearing. Because some of the most of your advanced magics, in all honesty, sight and hearing are the ones you're going to use the most. Because if you're going to do evocation, for example, you want to be able to see the spirit, that's arcane sight. You want to be able to hear it, that's your arcane hearing. Now, the ability to touch and feel energy, would be, arcane touch and stuff like that. So if you're able to reach out and feel energy and manipulate it, you're already developing that. That is useful. And for some people, like, if energy work is your entire bag, that is kind of an important one for you. Arcane taste, not really as useful. It can be a fun one, but it's not as useful. So honestly, there's that. Like, if I had to pick one, just one that I think is actually the most important, I'd say arcane hearing. I really would, because even if you can't see an entity, you could at least communicate and have a conversation. And seeing them is not as important as being able to hear and receive the wisdom, in my mind. I mean, we were given 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? So do more listening. So that's my personal take on it. If I'm understanding your question correctly. If I'm not, just let me know and I'll try again. Kenny, if something scares me, it makes me angry a lot of times. I had that issue, but I don't like letting things have power over me. So yeah, like, I used to have major anger issues, and I'm now the one in control of that. Me. See, Gabriel, did shapeshifters like werewolves actually exist? I don't know. I've seen shapeshifters like them in other realms. Feywild comes to mind. I've actually gone out into the swamps of Louisiana hunting a rougarou, which we did a roundtable on the rougarou at one point. which is a Wolfman character. Um, so there's plenty of myths and legends that surround lycanthropy and werewolves and shapeshifters like that. I haven't unfortunately seen any real world physical proof to say 100% undeniably these things existed, Gabriel. I have not. Um, I do think there's plenty of weird things out there that could have given rise to the myths and legends. For example, there's plenty of myths of the so-called dogman. There's plenty of myths of the Rougarou down in Louisiana. Then we have Bigfoot. So we have these cryptids that, even if they're not shapeshifters, they are definitely animalistic bipeds that um, have humanoid characteristics to them that could easily have given rise to the myth without them actually existing, right? So there are two sides of it. That said, when it comes to people I've interviewed, especially during the Rougarou down in Louisiana, and I may do some video on some of these interviews I've done, but there, the interviews were of people who they were convinced, hands down, that individuals were these creatures. They were turning into these creatures. Some of, or were cursed to be this creature until someone killed it and took the curse. You know, all these things. Their conviction and belief of that myth was terrifying. Like, they were absolutely convinced to their core. There was no lying in them, and there was no convincing them otherwise. That type of commitment, that kind of belief in that myth, because of what they've experienced in that life, not what they've been told, but the experiences. I don't know if I'm allowed to share their experiences. That's why I'm kind of going around that. But that's the part that makes me think it's a possibility. See, I don't write anything off entirely. I don't. So I think it is a possibility, but we don't currently have proof. And one of the reasons I used to be willing to go out in the woods and do stupid stuff like that is I was kind of wanting that proof. And I've been asked, what would you have done if you found a Rougarou? I honestly don't have an answer to that. Because from what I heard, they probably would have tore me a new one, killed me, done something. But, hey, you do stupid things. And in truth, I'll be honest, I kind of want to get back in the woods and do some of these things again. In fact, I do have contact with a few teams still doing cryptid stuff, and I asked them to send me intriguing evidence and stuff still. So, but we don't know for sure. So, Matthias, the day you come out to the mountains to investigate is going to be a fun day for us. Oh, I bet. Let's see. We jumped. Crap. We're just gonna have to stop here. I'm lost. I'm sorry if I missed some stuff. It jumped bad on me. Let's see. Rainbow. Hey, Drake. Curious what your thoughts on the need to restrain or bind goetic spirits when summoning, and why might magicians fear a being it is asking for help? I actually don't agree with it at all. I don't fully. Absolutely. That's it. I don't agree. There's absolutely no reason. I personally think it's largely from a egotistical religious mindset. Um, or possibly a fear based in ignorance also is a possibility. But I've said it before on this channel. I actually did a full Solomonic traditional path working with the Goetia. I did not get good results, and I'll be honest with you. Knowing the translations and knowing what was actually being said in those rituals, I just felt awful. I absolutely felt awful. Demeaning, threatening, enslaving, these are things I am not against, or I am very much against. I'm not for them. I hate them. But I've always said to people, I try to understand everything and all sides of it. And I did. I tried to understand it. And from certain viewpoints, I can see why that path would be one that they're comfortable in. for me, my taste, my viewpoint on the world, it just isn't. But instead of just saying this is stupid, I also redone the path working again later where I just used evocation. Like if you take my evocation course, you'll notice there's no constraints in there. There's no bindings in that course, yet the entire Goetia is in that course also. I've worked with every Goetic spirit with no bindings, no restraints, no nothing, with no issues. In fact, I've gotten better results from that. And I later actually spoke with many of them, primarily the kings, but other ones as well, why this might happen. And their response is very simple. You approached us as an equal. You approached us as a colleague. You approached us and asked us for aid. You did not threaten us. We are more inclined to help a friend than an enemy. That was the general summary of what they told me. And since then, I have worked that way with them. And since then, honestly, that's how I've approached entities. I approach entities as my equal. I approach them on level ground and respectfully every freaking time. That's just how I do it. I'm not going to threaten. If I need to threaten you or insult you or something, I'm not going to waste your time or my time. That goes for entities and that goes for people. If all you can do is scream insults, then I view you as an ignorant person. Like if the best part of your argument or your conversation that day is insults, seriously, why waste air? But for those people who do follow a traditional Solomonic practice, if it's working for them, again, that goes with any practice. If you're not harming anyone else, if it's working for you and you're manifesting the results you want, I don't care. But if anyone comes to me and says, is it needed? I'm going to say no. The bindings and insults are not needed. So there you go, Rainbow. That's my thoughts on it. Is astral projection similar to what happens when you... for people who've had an out-of-body experience, I would say, yeah, there's a similarity to it. Though I would say soul travel is closer to that than astral travel. There is actually a difference. Soul travel and astral travel are not terms that mean the exact same thing. But yeah, it's very similar in respects to an out-of-body experience or what happens to you when you die. And I can say that because I've had the out-of-body thing and I've had the pronounced dead thing. So there's, don't recommend it. Matthias, I'm super excited for the astral workshop. I am too. I am actually working to get the last bit of the school transferred over and updated. And I'm wanting to announce the workshop 2 to 3 weeks ahead of the actual class so people can sign up for it and everything and plan ahead. My goal in truth is to try and get a full month in front so that if you need to save up for it, let's say you're not a supporter and you need to save up, you can do that. Because I want to say the workshops are usually priced about 10 or 15 bucks for the live workshops. That gets you access to the live workshop, the full, the lessons, the classes, the Q&A, and then the replay, which is posted. The replay is available for you for usually 3 to 4 weeks after the actual workshop. So if you purchase it, something happens, your sister throws a vase at you, you get a flat tire, you can't make it live, you can still watch the workshop and still take the notes. And best of all, this is one thing I love. Like if you don't like taking class, you can go back and watch it and pause it and take notes accordingly during that 3-week time the replay is available. Because I don't like taking real-time notes. I hate it. So yeah, there's those perks. And the way the community is set up now with the new things, I can actually set up a place where you can ask questions on that workshop until the replay's down. You can continue to ask questions, and I will do my best to answer those quickly till the replay comes down. So yeah, a lot of cool perks for the amount. And honestly, that's less than you could get going to one of these pagan con class things. They used to make me charge $25, $30 for like a 15-minute little chat. I was like, that's stupid. Who wants to hear me talk for 15 minutes for $30? That's just stupid. So yeah. Anyway, rant over. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, that's the short version. Let's see. Let's see, Rainbow. That is helpful. Much love. I liked your older comments on why the goetic beings would want to help us, and that they just want to be busy and exercise their abilities. And they do. They actually do genuinely want to help us. Like, it's kind of a two-part thing. Like, they actually do want to be busy. They do want to help us, but in helping us, it's also an opportunity to get close to this plane and experience it, even though they're not physical beings. So that's actually another perk for them. But they do actually want to see us grow and progress as beings. They want to see us, I guess you would say that some people use the word ascend and get past this little physical world and experience a much larger world past that. So yeah. Let's see. Matthias well said, the idea of reaching out to something for a favor and trying to bind it just seems disrespectful. Probably why I didn't attempt a vocation until recently. Yeah. And many of you know honor and respect are two like cornerstones of how I approach life. So like that's probably why that whole concept just feels icky to me, because it feels just disrespectful as shit. And like I won't even approach an enemy that way. Seriously. I approach enemies with a measure of respect. I really do. And I learned that from one of my older mentors. Like at my oldest mentor's funeral, there were people there that I can honestly say genuinely wanted him dead. They still came to his funeral to show their respects because they admired him. They actually respected him. They understood what he did for a living. They understood that what he did for a living conflicted with what they did for a living. But they respected him and knew him as an honorable man all the same. I wasn't going to dishonor him by, just grabbing them by the belts and chunking them out, because they were there to pay respects, not to disrespect him. They were actually there to pay their respects. So respect can go to someone who you would view as an enemy. And honestly, showing disrespect to people really kind of speaks a little bit more to you than them. So, but that's my window on the world. Let's see, where are we at on time? Okay, we got about 7 or 8 minutes left. We got any questions coming in? Because Jade will be throwing clocks at me very soon. Kuan Yin, good evening. Glad you can make it. No problem. No problem. I'm just glad you got in to say hi. I mean, you can always watch the replay and watch the goofiness and the questions. But hey, at least you got to pop in and say hi live to us. Always good to see the community come out. Let's see. What is this? Up here, I think I missed this one. Yeah. And his sons are an example of werewolves. Because in Greek mythology, Listen tried to trick Zeus into eating human flesh. Outrage. Curse. Right. I know the myth of that. But just, Greek myth isn't physical proof of the material world. So there's plenty of mythologies out there, not just inside Native Americans. There's, Greek mythology. There's plenty of mythologies out there across many, many pantheons. Some people even point to the Norse berserkers as shapeshifters. I think that's a bit of a stretch personally if we look at the archaeological side of it, but people do point at it. So when I'm talking about proof, I'm not talking about myth. I'm talking about physical, archaeological. Can we prove they existed, right? That's what I'm looking for when I go into the woods looking for cryptids and stuff. I'm looking for that. That's why also when I do paranormal investigations, I don't care what you psychically feel. I don't care what you psychically see. None of that proves anything to science. It doesn't. And that may sound weird for a magician to say, but you'll have to understand, I'm actually wanting to research these things and bring information forward that can prove it on the level of scientific requirements, right? And even though I think that there's a way that possibly we might be able to get the metaphysical and find ways to prove it up to scientific standards, we're just not there right now. And that's why, like, I only use Class A EVPs. Like, if I have to put it into a computer and clean it up before I can hear it, that doesn't count, because there is something in between what you're hearing and the result that could actually be creating something that's not actually there. So I'm pretty strict on those things. Let's see. Notable ghost hunting stories for me. Oh, real quick. I mean, before we go, I can think of one that made me laugh the most, honestly. Me and a bunch of friends were actually investigating Waverly Hills, and I think I've told this at one point or another, but I know many of you guys are new and stuff. And one of my buddies went with us, my friend Jim. He's like a brother to me, but he's not really a big believer in the paranormal, right? He was supporting us. He's like, I'm going to help carry the gear. I'm going to set, tow cables and stuff like that. He's like, I'll go, Jim was from Texas. He loved sharpshooting, stuff like that. Always carried a 6-shooter on him. But we were in Waverly Hills. We'd split up for a time. We were in different areas. And we realized Jim had gone missing. And so we're suddenly looking for him. And we bump into him in one of the upper level hallways. And we were like, dude, where'd you go? What the hell? And it was like, oh, I stopped to talk to this lady over here. And I was like, who? Give us her name. He's like, I forgot to ask her name. I was like, Jim, you know everyone in this building. He's like, no, I don't know her. And we actually had to fully stop because it's like, there's no one here. There's absolutely no one here but us. So who did you bump into? Are they a squatter? Are they what? And he started describing her. And something wasn't sounding right to me, but one of my friends luckily actually had a smartphone at that time. At that time, I still had a flip phone. And they pulled something up. And they're like, did she look something like this? And he looks at the phone. It's like, yeah, that's her. Where'd you get the picture? Guys, it was one of the nurses that supposedly worked at Waverly Hills. And yeah, it's just like, apparently he just had a 15, 20-minute conversation with her. And when he realized that, I've never seen that boy go so pale, sickly white in my life. Ever. He was spooked. I wish we could have got some documentation of his conversation, but unfortunately, yeah, that's one quick one that to this day I used to bug him about that all the time. All right. Let's see if we got any here I can answer quick before we have to get going. Lady Tempest, do you astral vampirism and dangerous entities to your astral students? I do discuss it to some extent. However, astral entities are not as big of a danger as most people make them. Any basic cleansing at all, literally, even just standard water cleansing can get rid of astral entity stuff. It's not as big of a danger as a lot of people paint it out to be. And astral vampirism can be blocked with even the simplest of basic shields. So if you have basic shielding techniques, astral travel's as safe as walking down the street. And in all honesty, depending on where you live, I'd say astral travel's safer than walking down the street. But yeah, I do discuss it with them. But I also don't feed into the fear mongering side of it, because there's way too many people out there who They do nothing but cause fear and stuff so that they can sell a spell or a ritual to, oh, you've got an astral vampire, oh, you got this. And they'll charge $50, $100 for, oh, let me save your ass, when that's just simply not needed. Let's see. See, there's the clocks. I knew the clocks were coming. Oh, if you ever work with him, he loves to answer questions. He loves to talk. And once you get him talking, he won't shut up sometimes. A lot of the times, actually. He loves to hear himself talk. And he is one where I actually will use the phrase, he loves to hear himself talk. I actually have enjoyed working with Zeus. I'll admit, there's personality traits of his I don't jive with, but he does love to hear himself talk. So yeah. Let's see. Well, Thomas, I know a lot of people feel that science will never recognize the metaphysical for many, many reasons. However, I have to disagree because there's a lot of things that in science was absolutely viewed as hogwash and absolutely impossible by science for many, many years. And then through trial, testing, understanding, and experimentation, they found out these things that they once thought witchcraft and ooga booga and metaphysical. Actually, they were real and they were able to prove it. So I do still think that these two things run absolutely side by side, and that if we keep an open mind and we don't shut our minds down as metaphysical practitioners, and scientists do the same, I mean, both sides are quick to turn away and turn blind eyes. That saddens me. Both sides need to be able to keep an open mind. And continue to seek and to explore. There's just this weird thing. Humanity's at a point where the concept of seek and explore, we've stopped. And you can tell it's sad. It is sad. It saddens me. But that aside, all right, there's the clocks. Everybody, I got to get going. I got a meeting I got to get into, and I don't want to keep everybody up late. Some of them are in different time zones even. So I got to get going. But you all have a fantastic week. Again, remember, we got a Dragon Magic video coming out on Tuesday. Be sure to check it out. Be sure to comment, even if it's just to say hi, because YouTube is now prioritizing pre-recordings over live streams. So make sure you give us a thumbs up and say hi on there. If you have any questions, ask them. All the interaction can help the channel plenty. And check out the links below for the community. Join us over there. And like I said, if we can get the paid supporters up to 30, the dragons have allowed me to dive into my private grimoire that of dragons I'm not supposed to share, and allow me to share them with the community. And the same thing for when we hit 40 and 50. So I tried to get them to lower the number. They wouldn't let me lower the number. But hey, that's okay. That's okay. The fact that they've given me a, hey, you want to share this? Here's how we're going to let you share it. I'll take it. So share with your friends. Let them know about the community. Send some invite links if you want. Let people know on your social media if you have it. I know a lot of people don't go on social media. Be honest, I don't either outside the community and here on YouTube. So with that said, everybody have a fantastic week. Take care. Good night.